For those who maybe weren't looking at the newspaper particularly in 2021 or have come to this event without too much knowledge of the background of what's going on, could you give us an overview of, I suppose, what was happening up to 2021 and where we are now?
Yes, so sort of go back to the very basics. In 2001, the international community, the US-led mission was taken with NATO to intervene in Afghanistan and to overthrow the Taliban regime, who were in power for about 6 years the first time round. Over the last 20 years, there was a lot of progress across the country when it comes to literacy, education, work, development, infrastructure. And then in 2021, the decision was made by both Trump and Biden later that the US had done all it could and that Afghanistan was unfixable and that we've got to end the war. And it's now something that we can't pursue and continue. So NATO and international allies and forces left Afghanistan in August 2021. All of a sudden, I mean, it wasn't even a smooth transition of power. It was a nightmare. I remember seeing the scenes, I'm sure we may have seen it in the news or social media, of thousands of Afghans at the airport finding a way to leave the country because they'd rather, and there were sort of stampedes, it was horrific, but I'm sure you also saw the scenes of young boys clinging on to military airplanes, and a few actually fell. But the symbol of that for me was that these people were willing to die than to live in a country that was ruled by the Taliban. So that's sort of a brief summary of what occurred, and now we're 18 months in since the Taliban takeover, and there've been lots of developments since. But I'm happy to sort of answer any other questions before I sort of. If you leave me to it, I'll carry on. So I'll try to stop.
That's very tempting. I absolutely might. I just want to ask you, obviously you still have relatives who live in Afghanistan who are living under the Taliban, and also relatives, of course, who would have fled in 2021, presumably.
Yes, I think most of my mother's side still live in Kabul, my grandmother, aunts and uncles and cousins, and I'm still in touch with particularly the young female cousins inside the country who are not going to school, university anymore. And one of my cousins yesterday got in touch asking if I can help her buy a laptop because she can't go to school, she can't go to university, but at least if she has a laptop at home and access to the internet, she could try to self-educate and learn alone. So the struggle is very close to home. I witness it on a daily basis. I hear about it, and this is not a story that I'm telling from afar. This is not a story I'm telling from afar, but it's something that I'm having to deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And so just on that point, we're all familiar with the news stories about, what it's like for women when it comes to education over in Afghanistan. But just kind of on the specifics of it, right now, what is the situation? Can girls go to school in any capacity? And what are they really being banned from?
So when the Taliban returned to power in August, a few weeks later, they decided that girls over the age of 11 were not allowed to go to school anymore because according to their translation of Islam or Sharia law, above 11, it's harmful or you may sort of be led astray. And what is the point of an education for a young girl over the age of 11 when your responsibility is at home? And that's the mentality. It's incredibly patriarchal, to say the least. So yes, secondary education was banned completely. And that went on until, I think it was around beginning of December, when they decided there was no global reaction to the fact that they banned millions of girls from schools. The confidence started to sort of build. No one's saying anything. The international community have not held them accountable. We're going to go a step further. And now we're going to ban women from going to university. So it's been about 66 days now that women are also not able to go to university. This is across the country. This is not certain provinces, certain regions, certain cities. It's widespread. And there are also now reports that in certain regions, in certain areas, young girls in primary schools are also being... it's not sort of a decision that's been made by the Taliban officially, but Taliban leaders governors, officials in certain regions are taking it upon themselves to also ban girls under the age of 11 from going to school as well.